My precious one, pause everything and listen carefully. On March 31st, a spiritual exposure was released in the unseen realm. What was hidden in whispers hath been dragged into the light. What was covered under smiles hath been uncovered by fire. And this message is not random. It is not coincidence. It is confirmation. On March 31st, Archangel Michael says, someone in your family who acted like a friend but was a snake has finally been caught, and the name they hid behind is about to be revealed. You felt it, didn't you? There was a strange shift in the atmosphere of your home. A heaviness. A tension that made no sense. A presence that smiled at you during the day but felt cold in your spirit at night. You questioned yourself. You thought maybe you were overthinking. Maybe you were too sensitive. But heaven says you were discerning. Archangel Michael stands with his sword of truth, and he declares that the mask has fallen. The disguise is cracked. The one who blended into family gatherings, who laughed at your table, who spoke sweetly while carrying hidden intentions, that spirit has been exposed. This is not about hatred. This is about revelation. For months, maybe even years, this person watched you closely. They studied your patterns. They gathered your secrets. They pretended loyalty while quietly planting doubt around your name. They acted like they were protecting you, but behind closed doors, they were shaping narratives. And here is the shocking truth. They never showed their real face. They operated behind a different name. Not a legal name. A spiritual name. A false identity. Archangel Michael says the name they hid behind was concern. They disguised control as concern. They disguised jealousy as advice. They disguised competition as support. They said, I'm just worried about you. They said, I only want what's best for you. They said, I'm telling you this because I care. But heaven saw what was beneath it. Underneath that mask was insecurity. Underneath that voice was comparison. Underneath that friendship was fear of your rising. You are not crazy for sensing something was off. On March 31st, a divine audit took place in your bloodline. And when the light of God entered the situation, the serpent spirit could not stay hidden. The energy shifted. Their behavior changed. They became distant or overly dramatic. They reacted strangely to your silence. That reaction was not random. It was exposure. Archangel Michael says this person is being confronted internally. Their secrets are pressing on their conscience. Their hidden conversations are circling back. The very trap they set is collapsing under their own steps. But listen carefully. This exposure is not for revenge. It is for protection. If this person had remained hidden, they would have continued draining your confidence. They would have continued subtly redirecting your opportunities. They would have continued smiling in public while shrinking you in private. Heaven intervened. And you may have noticed something recently. They slipped up. They said something that revealed too much. Someone else mentioned a detail they were not supposed to know. A truth came out accidentally. There are no accidents in spiritual warfare. Archangel Michael is not just a warrior. He is a defender of destiny. And your destiny cannot be contaminated by hidden betrayal. Now here's what is critical. Do not confront immediately. Yes, you heard that correctly. Silence is your shield right now. Observation is your advantage. Let them believe their mask is still intact. Let them continue speaking freely. When a snake thinks it is unseen, it becomes careless. And carelessness reveals everything. You are being repositioned. God is rearranging your inner circle. This is not loss, this is cleansing. Not everyone who shares your blood shares your calling. Not everyone who sits at your table carries your loyalty. Archangel Michael says separation is protection in disguise. The heaviness you felt was spiritual friction. Two different intentions cannot occupy the same space without tension. You were ascending. They were comparing. You were trusting. They were calculating. But here is the most powerful part. They underestimated your covering. They thought you were alone. They thought no one saw the subtle manipulation. They thought their whispers would never be traced. But heaven tracks every intention. And March 31st marked the beginning of divine justice. You may not see the full exposure yet, but you will. Pieces will connect. Conversations will surface. Behavior will confirm what your spirit already knew. And when it happens, you will not feel anger. You will feel relief. Because clarity brings peace. Archangel Michael says, do not let this revelation harden your heart. Let it sharpen your discernment instead. There is a difference. You are not called to become suspicious of everyone. You are called to become wise. The snake was never stronger than your destiny. It was only louder in your mind because you doubted your intuition. That doubt ends today. The hidden name has been revealed. Insert. Now that you know the disguise, you will never fall for it again. Something is shifting in your family dynamic. Alignments are changing. Conversations are about to feel different. Watch who suddenly distances themselves when you stop over-explaining your life. That will tell you everything. Archangel Michael stands guard over your household. His sword is not raised in chaos, he is raised in order. Truth is entering your lineage. And the one who acted like a friend but moved like a snake has been spiritually marked for exposure. This is only the beginning of what heaven is uncovering. Chosen vessel, something deeper is unfolding behind what you just heard. What happened on March 31st was not only exposure, it was activation. When Archangel Michael declared that the one hiding behind concern has been caught, a spiritual chain reaction began inside your family structure. Energies shifted. Alignments cracked. And the person who thought they were invisible suddenly felt watched. That discomfort you sensed from them recently, that was not coincidence. That was conviction. You may have noticed that they started asking strange questions. They began fishing for information again, but with a different tone. There was urgency in their voice, a nervous curiosity, almost as if they were checking whether you knew something. Heaven says they feel it. They feel the shift in your energy. They feel that you are no longer emotionally dependent on their approval. They feel that something protective is standing between you and their influence. And they are right. Archangel Michael has stepped into your atmosphere like a silent guardian. Not loud, not dramatic, just firm. His presence is like a wall they cannot cross anymore. And because they cannot access you the way they used to, they are unsettled. Pay attention to how they react when you give shorter answers. Notice how they behave when you stop sharing your plans. Observe what happens when you no longer seek their advice. Exposure makes manipulators anxious. But here is what you must understand clearly. This person did not wake up one day and decide to betray you. This pattern has been building for a long time. Small comments, subtle discouragement, slight comparisons, tiny seeds planted in conversations with others. They smiled with you and strategized around you. Yet heaven allowed it only up to a limit. On March 31st, that limit was reached. Archangel Michael says the reason this had to be exposed now is because you are stepping into a new season. There is an elevation coming, a breakthrough that requires clean energy around you. And if the snake had remained hidden, they would have sabotaged the next level quietly. You might be thinking, should I confront them? Should I cut them off completely? Not yet. Wisdom first. Movement later. Silence is unsettling for those who operate in deception. When you stop reacting, they reveal more. When you stop defending yourself, they over-explain. When you withdraw emotionally, they panic internally. This is where your power grows. There is also something else you need to hear. Not everyone in your family is blind to this. Someone else has noticed inconsistency. Someone else has felt the strange undertone in conversations. You are not alone in your discernment. Truth has a way of surfacing through multiple witnesses. And when the moment is right, confirmation will arrive in a way that feels undeniable. It may come through a slip of the tongue. It may come through a third-party confession. It may come through evidence you were not even looking for. But when it comes, it will bring closure. Right now, your assignment is composure. Archangel Michael says, do not let anger leak into your spirit. The snake feeds on emotional reaction. But when you stay grounded, when you stay prayerful, when you stay observant, their own behavior becomes the testimony against them. There is a reason this message reached you today. You were meant to prepare, not panic. And as you process this, I want you to do something important. If this message is confirming what your spirit already sensed, let it be known. Like this video so the algorithm carries this warning to others who are silently dealing with the same hidden betrayal. Share it with someone who needs spiritual clarity. Comment below if this resonates with your situation, because your testimony may unlock courage in someone else. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing army of discernment. When you join the membership, you stand with a community committed to truth and spiritual awareness. There is power when light spreads. And before you move forward, understand this. The next revelation will show you why this exposure had to happen before something much bigger unfolds. What is about to shift will make everything clearer. Hold that thought carefully, because what comes next will connect the final pieces in a way you did not expect. Faithful soul, the veil is thinning even more now. There is a reason the exposure happened before the end of this month. March 31st was not just a date. It was a spiritual deadline. Archangel Michael stood at the edge of a cycle and declared, no further. What was tolerated before cannot cross into your next season. What was hidden in shadows cannot follow you into greater light. And now you are beginning to see why. The one who acted like a friend but moved like a snake has started revealing subtle cracks in their mask. Their tone has shifted. Their patience with you has grown thinner. Their encouragement feels forced. You may even notice that they are trying to create small misunderstandings, almost as if they are provoking you. This is not random behavior. This is pressure. When darkness is exposed, it reacts. Archangel Michael says their frustration is not truly about you. It is about losing access. You were once emotionally open with them. You shared your dreams freely. You trusted their reactions. But something inside you has changed. You have become quieter, stronger, more observant, and that shift has unsettled them. The name they hid behind, concern, no longer works on you. When they say, I'm just worried, you hear the hidden tone. When they say, I'm only advising you, you sense the subtle control. Your spirit is no longer confused. Discernment has replaced doubt. But here is the deeper revelation. Their exposure is connected to your elevation. Here is a door opening for you. A new opportunity. A new level of visibility. Something that will require boldness and confidence. And the one who pretended to be your supporter would have quietly poisoned your courage right before you stepped through that door. Heaven refused to allow that. Archangel Michael says this was divine interception, a protective interruption. If this truth had come later, it would have hurt more deeply. But now you are prepared. Now you are alert. Now you are spiritually armored. You not underestimate what has just been prevented. You might never fully see the conversations they had behind your back. You may never hear every word that was spoken in private. But understand this: God saw it. And what God sees, He addresses. There is also something else happening. The snake is beginning to feel isolated. The alliances they built quietly are weakening. The people they tried to influence are starting to question inconsistencies. Energy cannot stay misaligned forever. Truth creates friction and deception. You may notice that they attempt one last emotional pull. They may try to act extra kind, extra helpful, extra attentive. This is not transformation. This is strategy. It is the final attempt to regain access before the door fully closes. Archangel Michael says, do not be fooled by temporary sweetness. Real loyalty does not fluctuate based on your awareness. Real support does not shrink when you grow stronger. Real love does not compete with your calling. And here is the moment of clarity: you were never meant to carry everyone with you. Some people were assignments. Some were lessons. Some were mirrors showing you what discernment feels like. But not everyone is destined to walk into your next chapter. Release without rage. That is your strength. Because when you release in peace, heaven handles the rest. There is divine justice unfolding quietly. Not loud, not chaotic, but precise. The one who operated behind a false name will eventually face the consequences of their own actions. You do not need to orchestrate anything. You do not need to expose them publicly. Exposure is already in motion. Your role is elevation. Archangel Michael stands beside you not only as a warrior, but as a witness. You witnessed your confusion. You witnessed your internal battles. You witnessed the moments you doubted your intuition. And now He witnesses your awakening. This is not the end of the story. This is the turning point. And if this message is speaking directly to your spirit, seal it with faith. Type "I walk in discernment" in the comments if you receive this confirmation. Blessing code 3131 has just been released over your life. Now hear this final word before we move forward. What was meant to destabilize you has strengthened you. What was meant to confuse you has clarified your vision. And what was meant to delay you has accelerated your separation from hidden toxicity. The sword of Archangel Michael has drawn a line. On one side stands deception. On the other side stands destiny. And you, chosen one, are stepping firmly into destiny. As this revelation settles into your spirit, understand that this is bigger than one family situation. This is about souls being awakened. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping light reach someone trapped in confusion. Scripture says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." And today that light is moving through you. When you feel the stirring in your heart and think, "I want to be part of this," that is not emotion, that is invitation. Every seed you release becomes oil in the lamp of someone else searching for clarity. This is your moment to act in obedience, not hesitation. As you give, may open heavens respond over your household. May provision meet you swiftly. May protection surround your family. Step into alignment with this assignment. Activate your support now through super thanks, membership, with a PayPal link in the description, and become a carrier of this divine exposure. Anointed listener, what you are about to understand will change the way you see the last few years of your life. This was never just about one person behaving strangely. This was about a pattern that was permitted for a season so that your discernment could mature. Archangel Michael does not only fight external battles, he trains internal awareness. And what felt like emotional confusion was actually spiritual training. Look back carefully. How many times did you share good news with this person, only to feel subtly drained afterward? How many times did you announce a new plan and notice their enthusiasm felt rehearsed? How often did your victories get redirected into advice you did not ask for? At the time, you brushed it off. You told yourself, maybe that's just how they are. You adjusted. You minimized your own discomfort to keep the peace. But peace built on self-silencing is not true peace. Archangel Michael says the reason this exposure happened now is because you have outgrown tolerance for disguised disrespect. Your spirit has leveled up. What you once ignored, you now identify immediately. What you once excused, you now evaluate. This growth is not accidental. There was a moment recently when you felt a sudden emotional detachment. Not hatred, not anger, just distance. You may have wondered why your feelings cooled so quickly. That was not coldness. That was protection activating. Where heaven removes emotional dependency, it is making room for clarity. The person who acted like a friend but carried hidden motives relied on your openness. They relied on your willingness to explain yourself. They relied on your empathy. But now that empathy is guided by wisdom. And here is something crucial. Do not let guilt creep in. They may try to shift the narrative. They may say you have changed. They may imply you are becoming distant or secretive. They might even attempt to gather sympathy from others by suggesting you are pulling away without reason. Do not be shaken. When a manipulator loses access, they often rewrite the story. Archangel Michael says your silence is not cruelty. It is calibration. You are recalibrating who gets access to your inner world. Not everyone who is related to you is entitled to your vulnerability. There is also a generational layer to this. This pattern did not begin with you. In your family line, there have been subtle competitions masked as closeness, comparison disguised as jokes, advice delivered with hidden agendas. It was normalized, but you are the one breaking it. March 31st marked a spiritual boundary that your bloodline had not set before. And whenever someone sets a new boundary in a family system, resistance appears. That resistance does not mean you are wrong. It means you are different. And different disrupts comfort. The snake energy thrived in unspoken tension. It moved quietly through side conversations and small remarks. But when you decided, even silently, that you would no longer entertain confusion, the environment shifted. You may now notice something interesting. Your attempts to influence others are not landing the same way. Your words carry less weight. The subtle authority they once held is weakening. What? Because spiritual authority has shifted to you. Archangel Michael stands as witness to your integrity. When heaven defends someone, influence follows. You do not need to campaign for validation. Truth naturally exposes contrast. Still, you must guard your heart carefully. Exposure can tempt you to overanalyze every interaction. Do not become suspicious of everyone around you. Discernment is focused, not paranoid. There are loyal people in your life. There are genuine supporters. Do not let one revealed snake make you fear every movement in the grass. Balance is strength. As this situation continues unfolding, you will begin to feel lighter. The heaviness that once lingered in certain conversations will fade. Your energy will feel more stable. Your mind will feel clear. This is the result of unseen warfare ending. Archangel Michael says the battle was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you, to show you that your intuition is trustworthy, to prove that your spirit can detect what your eyes cannot see. And now you stand at a new threshold. The next phase is not confrontation. It is confirmation. You will see more evidence naturally. You will hear statements that confirm your instincts. And when that happens, you will not need dramatic reactions. You will simply know. And knowing brings peace. There is also a blessing hidden inside this exposure. You are becoming more selective with your words, more intentional with your energy, more protective of your dreams. This refinement will serve you far beyond this family dynamic. Archangel Michael whispers this clearly. You are not losing a relationship, you are losing an illusion. And illusions cannot follow you into destiny. Something significant is still ahead. A revelation that connects not only this betrayal, but the reason it was allowed for so long. When that understanding lands, you will see your entire journey differently. Prepare your heart. The next layer is deeper than you expect. Steadfast heart. There is a reason this revelation feels both heavy and freeing at the same time. When betrayal hides inside familiarity, the wound is subtle. It does not come with loud explosions. It comes with quiet distortions. Over time, you began questioning your own reactions. You wondered if you were being too sensitive. You replayed conversations in your mind, trying to decode tones and pauses. That mental exhaustion was not weakness. It was your spirit detecting misalignment. Archangel Michael says what you experienced was cognitive dissonance of the soul. Your eyes saw kindness, but your spirit felt caution. Your ears heard support, but your intuition felt resistance. That internal conflict created tension within you. Now that the mask has slipped, the tension is dissolving. But there is another layer that must be understood. The one who hid behind concern was not only watching you. They were measuring themselves against you. Your growth highlighted their insecurities. Your progress triggered their hidden comparisons. Every step forward you took forced them to face something unresolved within themselves. Instead of healing, they monitored. Instead of celebrating you fully, they competed quietly. Archangel Michael reveals that this was never about hatred. It was about fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of losing influence. Fear of no longer being the central voice in your decisions. And fear, when left unchecked, often disguises itself as control. Think carefully about moments when you felt subtly steered away from opportunities. Times when they questioned your capabilities just enough to plant doubt. Occasions when they suggested safer paths while you felt called to take bold steps. Those were not random conversations. They were attempts to keep you within a comfort zone that made them feel secure. But destiny does not shrink to protect someone else's insecurity. March 31st marked the end of that containment. Archangel Michael says you are entering a season where boldness will be required. You will make decisions that not everyone understands. You will move in ways that feel unfamiliar to those who were used to guiding you. Step reactions. When you no longer seek validation from someone who thrived on advising you, they feel displaced. And displacement can cause subtle resistance. They may question your choices publicly. They may attempt to reassert influence through indirect comments. Do not engage emotionally. Your calm confidence will speak louder than any argument. There is also something important you must release, the need for them to admit what they did. Closure will not come from their confession. that will come from your clarity. Some people never acknowledge their hidden motives, even when exposed internally. Archangel Michael says justice does not always look like apology. Sometimes it looks like distance, and distance can be mercy. You may begin to notice that conversations with them become shorter, less layered, more surface level. That is not coldness, that is boundary formation. You are learning to interact without overexposing your inner world. This is maturity. The most powerful shift, however, is happening within you. You are no longer seeking to be understood by everyone. You are prioritizing alignment over approval. That internal realignment is what truly unsettled the snake energy. Because when you stop needing validation, manipulation loses power. Archangel Michael stands as guardian over this transformation. His sword is not cutting people out recklessly. It is cutting cords that drain your focus. And as those cords fall away, you will feel your energy returning. Projects that once felt heavy will feel exciting again. Decisions that felt confusing will feel clearer. Even your sleep may become more peaceful as subconscious tension lifts. Exposure brings restoration. Still, do not rush the process. The unfolding will continue gently. More insights will surface. Small confirmations will align, and each one will strengthen your certainty. There is also a hidden gift in this experience. You will become a safer person for others. Because you understand what subtle betrayal feels like, you will choose honesty more intentionally. You will guard others' trust carefully. You will not play emotional games. Pain, when processed correctly, produces integrity. Archangel Michael says this was refinement, not punishment. You were never being tested to fail. You were being trained to discern. And now that discernment is active, your next relationships will operate at a higher frequency. The one who acted like a friend but moved like a snake has lost influence over your destiny. That chapter is closing quietly, not dramatically. And something new is approaching. Something that will show you why clearing this space was absolutely necessary. What is coming requires clean ground. Prepare yourself. The next revelation will connect this exposure to a breakthrough you have been praying for longer than you realize. Brave soul, what you are about to understand will shift your entire perspective on loyalty and destiny. The exposure of the one who hid behind concern was not only about revealing deception. It was about clearing spiritual interference before acceleration. Archangel Michael does not remove hidden threats without purpose. Whenever he steps forward with his sword of truth, it signals movement ahead. And movement is coming. There was a delay hovering over your life. Not a permanent blockage, but a subtle slowdown. Plans that should have flowed easily felt strangely complicated. Opportunities that seemed aligned suddenly faced confusion. Communication lines crossed at the wrong time. That was not coincidence. When someone close to you carries concealed jealousy or control, their energy creates resistance in the atmosphere. Not because they have ultimate power, but because proximity amplifies influence. Their silent doubt brushed against your confidence. Their hidden comparison interfered with your momentum. Now that interference has been identified, Archangel Michael says the air around you is clearing. What once felt foggy will begin to sharpen. Decisions that felt tangled will start to untangle. You will notice smoother timing, unexpected alignment, doors that respond more quickly. Pay attention to the next few weeks. Something you almost gave up on may suddenly revive. A conversation that stalled may reopen. A person who seemed distant may reconnect with clarity. This is what happens when hidden resistance is removed. But do not underestimate the adjustment period. The one who acted like a friend may sense that their influence is fading. They might attempt one final emotional maneuver. It could be subtle guilt. It could be exaggerated affection. It could even be playing the victim. Stay steady. Archangel Michael warns that the final phase of exposure often includes emotional testing. Not to trap you, but to measure your growth. Will you return to over-explaining yourself? Will you step back into old patterns of seeking approval? Or will you remain composed? You have already changed more than you realize. Your responses are slower now, more intentional. You no longer react instantly to tension. That pause you take before answering is wisdom forming. Guard that pause, because in that pause, your power lives. There is something else unfolding that you must prepare for. As your clarity increases, your confidence will rise. And when confidence rises, visibility follows. People will begin noticing your steadiness, your leadership, your quiet strength. This is where destiny accelerates. And here is why this message matters beyond your situation. Many are walking through hidden betrayal in silence. Many are questioning their instincts. If this word is confirming what your spirit already sensed, let your response create ripple effects. Like this message so it reaches someone who needs confirmation. Share it with a friend who may be facing subtle manipulation. Comment your insight below, because your voice could validate another person's discernment. Subscribe to this channel and stand aligned with a community that values truth and spiritual awareness. When you join the membership, you position yourself within a circle that refuses to ignore hidden patterns. Light multiplies when it is acknowledged. As you continue listening, understand that the next revelation will connect this exposure directly to your long-awaited breakthrough. What seemed like betrayal was actually preparation. What felt like emotional loss was strategic clearing. Hold your focus, because what is about to unfold will show you why March 31st was a turning point written long before you noticed the signs. Beloved warrior of light, now we step into the layer that explains everything. You thought this was only about exposure. You thought this was about identifying the snake and moving on. But Archangel Michael says this revelation is directly connected to a covenant shift over your life. There was an agreement forming in the unseen realm, not one you signed with words, but one shaped by your patterns. Every time you minimized yourself to keep peace, every time you diluted your vision to avoid tension, every time you ignored your intuition to maintain closeness, you unknowingly reinforced a silent contract. I will shrink so others feel comfortable. That contract expired on March 31st. The exposure of the one hiding behind concern with the breaking of that agreement. No longer will you reduce your brilliance to maintain fragile dynamics. No longer will you consult voices that secretly question your rise. No longer will you silence discernment for the sake of familiarity. Archangel Michael did not step in merely to reveal a person. He stepped in to dissolve a pattern. And here is what makes this powerful. The moment you stopped emotionally depending on their validation, a new spiritual authority settled on you. It feels like calm certainty. It feels like grounded confidence. It feels like not needing to explain yourself. That is elevation. You may already sense it. Conversations that once intimidated you no longer carry weight. Decisions that once required external reassurance now feel internally clear. You are moving differently. The one who acted like a friend sensed this shift before you consciously understood it. That is why their behavior became erratic. They felt the loss of influence. They felt the energetic distance forming. They recognized, even if subconsciously, that your inner circle was reorganizing. And when circles reorganize, some people naturally fall outside of them. This is not cruelty. This is alignment. Archangel Michael says your destiny requires companions who celebrate without comparison, advise without control, and support without secret rivalry. The exposure was necessary because the next season demands clean partnership. There is something significant approaching, an opportunity, a collaboration, a move, or a leadership role, and it cannot be built on unstable relational foundations. If the snake had remained undetected, their subtle sabotage would have intensified when your visibility increased. Heaven prevented that escalation. Now notice this carefully. Since March 31st, have you felt a new level of mental clarity? Have you sensed a strange calm even in moments that would normally trigger anxiety? That calm is not detachment. It is protection. Archangel Michael's presence brings order where confusion once thrived. The fog that clouded your judgment has lifted. You are no longer second-guessing your perceptions. That alone is a miracle. But there is still a final internal shift required. Forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Not restored closeness. But release. Holding resentment keeps cords alive. Quiet bitterness creates subtle ties. And destiny cannot accelerate with hidden emotional anchors. Forgiveness is not saying what they did was acceptable. It is declaring that their actions no longer define your emotional state. Archangel Michael says forgive swiftly, so you can move freely. This forgiveness may happen silently, in your own private moment. You may never announce it. You may never speak it to them. But within yourself, you will decide, I release this weight. When you do, something extraordinary will happen. The emotional charge attached to their name will dissolve. You will speak of them neutrally. You will think of them without tension. That is freedom. And freedom creates space. Space for new alliances. Space for divine appointments. Space for opportunities that require emotional availability. The betrayal was never meant to harden you. It was meant to refine you. Archangel Michael stands not only as a warrior, but as a witness to your growth. He saw you wrestle with confusion. He saw you question your instincts. He saw you try to preserve harmony at personal cost. And now he sees you choosing clarity over comfort. That choice has activated a new timeline. In this timeline, you do not chase approval. You attract alignment. You do not over-explain your vision. You execute it. You do not beg for loyalty. You observe it. The snake has been exposed, yes. But more importantly, the leader within you has been awakened. And what comes next will test not your discernment, but your boldness. Because once clarity is given, action must follow. Prepare yourself. The next revelation will reveal how this exposure positions you for a breakthrough that will silence every hidden doubt that once surrounded your name. Radiant One, this is where the breakthrough begins to take shape. You have walked through exposure. You have faced the truth. You have felt the emotional shift. But now Archangel Michael says it is time to understand the reward hidden inside the revelation. Whenever a false alignment is removed, a true alignment is released. The one who acted like a friend but carried hidden motives occupied space in your life. Emotional space, mental space, even spiritual space. And space determines what can enter. When the wrong presence lingers too long, the right presence waits at the edge. March 31st cleared the edge. There is someone new approaching your life. Not necessarily brand new in existence, but new in access. Someone who has observed you quietly. Someone who respects your growth without competing with it. Someone whose spirit does not shrink when you shine. But this connection could not fully form while the old energy remained active. Archangel Michael says divine alignment requires clean atmosphere. That is why the exposure felt urgent. That is why it felt intense. It was not just about revealing deception. It was about preparing reception. Pay attention in the coming days to conversations that feel easy. Notice interactions that leave you energized instead of drained. Observe who celebrates your ideas without redirecting them. These are signs of the new alignment. There is also an opportunity circling your path. It may relate to career, ministry, creativity, or leadership. Something that expands your visibility. Something that places you in rooms where your voice carries weight. The snake energy would have subtly undermined this opportunity. It would have planted doubt at the wrong moment. They would have questioned your readiness just enough to slow you down. But that interference had been cut off. Archangel Michael stands at the entrance of this new door, not forcing you through it, but guarding it from contamination. You will still need courage. You will still need faith. But you will not need to defend yourself from hidden sabotage within your own circle. This is freedom. However, do not rush forward impulsively. Clarity does not require speed. It requires steadiness. Let the new alignment reveal itself naturally. Let the opportunity unfold in proper timing. When something is divinely arranged, it will not require manipulation. You may also notice a surprising shift in your family dynamic. The absence of your emotional overextension will create new balance. Others may begin stepping into responsibility where you once overcompensated. Conversations may become simpler because you are no longer carrying hidden tension. This is what healthy boundaries create. Archangel Michael says the sword was not drawn to create division. It was drawn to create order. And order produces peace. Now listen carefully. There may be a moment soon when the one who hid behind concern realizes fully that their influence has ended. In that moment, they may attempt to reconnect in a dramatic way. They may try to express exaggerated support. They may attempt to write history. Do not be swayed by performance. True change is consistent, not theatrical. Your strength now lies in quiet observation. You no longer need to announce your awareness. You no longer need to signal your distance. Your energy speaks for itself. And as you stand in this new clarity, seal it with intention. Type "I receive divine alignment" in the comments if this message confirms your season. Blessing code 8080 hath been activated over your path. Understand this deeply. Exposure was not the climax. It was a gateway to cleaner relationships, a gateway to accelerated opportunity, a gateway to inner confidence that cannot be manipulated. Archangel Michael declares that your household is being recalibrated. Not everyone will understand the shift, but everyone will feel it. The atmosphere is lighter. The tension is dissolving. The hidden rivalry has lost ground. And you are standing taller because of it. And now, as this new alignment begins forming, recognize that this message itself is part of a larger mission. Souls across the world are navigating hidden betrayal and silent confusion. When you respond to this word, you participate in spreading clarity beyond your own story. Scripture declares that when light enters a house, darkness cannot remain. As you feel the stirring in your spirit saying, "I want others to hear this," that is not impulse, that is calling. Every act of support through super thanks, membership, or PayPal becomes seed in fertile ground, allowing this message to reach hearts that are still questioning their instincts. This is not about funding content. It is about fueling deliverance. As you sow, may open doors respond to you swiftly. May protection surround your family. May provision meet you unexpectedly. Step into obedience. Activate your support now through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description. and become a vessel that multiplies light. Strong and discerning one, now the deeper reward begins to unfold in ways you did not anticipate. Exposure removes illusion, but restoration rebuilds identity. What you are stepping into now is not just cleaner relationships, it is a clearer sense of self. For a long time, subtle opposition within your own circle caused you to edit yourself. You softened your opinions. You delayed bold moves. You even downplayed your wins to avoid stirring hidden tension. That era has ended. Archangel Michael says your voice is regaining its full strength. And when your voice returns, so does your authority. You may begin noticing a change in how you speak. There is less hesitation, fewer disclaimers, more direct clarity. This is not aggression. It is alignment. When deception exits your environment, your nervous system relaxes. And when your nervous system relaxes, confidence stabilizes. The one who hid behind concern unknowingly trained you to second-guess yourself. Every subtle redirection, every disguised comparison, every helpful caution slowly conditioned you to seek confirmation before action. But now you are acting from conviction. Archangel Michael reveals that this inner stabilization is preparing you for leadership, not necessarily in a public spotlight immediately, but in influence. People will begin turning to you for guidance. They will sense your grounded energy. They will feel your discernment. And here is the irony. The very betrayal that tried to shrink you has sharpened you. You understand manipulation now without becoming manipulative. You recognize subtle jealousy without absorbing it. You sense hidden motives without panicking. This is wisdom learned through experience. There is something else forming quietly. A new confidence in solitude. Where you once felt uneasy pulling back from certain family dynamics, you now feel peace in selective engagement. Silence no longer feels awkward. It feels powerful. Archangel Michael says this is because your identity is no longer tied to being understood by everyone. You are comfortable being misinterpreted temporarily if it means staying aligned permanently. That maturity will protect you in upcoming decisions. And yes, decisions are coming. A choice may appear soon that requires you to prioritize your growth over familiar comfort. It might involve distance. It might involve saying no. It might involve stepping into something that not everyone supports. But remember what was revealed. Not every voice deserves equal influence. The exposure on March 31st was heaven's way of clarifying whose counsel carries weight and whose does not. You will no longer confuse proximity with loyalty. As this clarity deepens, you may also notice something subtle but profound. The one who acted like a friend may begin experiencing consequences of their own behavior, not through your interference, but through natural cause and effect. Relationships around them may strain. Trust in other areas may weaken. Archangel Michael says, do not celebrate this. Do not watch with satisfaction. Simply observe and remain focused on your own path. Justice does not require your commentary. Your assignment is forward movement. The breakthrough hinted at earlier is closer now. The opportunity forming around you requires internal steadiness. It requires that you are not emotionally entangled in unresolved tension. That is why forgiveness was emphasized. That is why silence was advised. Clean heart, clear mind, open path. You will soon see why the clearing had to happen before this door opened. Had the snake remained hidden, you would have walked into the new season carrying quiet interference. But now you step in lighter. Archangel Michael stands not only as protector, but as announcer. The announcement over your life is this: stabilized authority. From this point forward, you will notice a pattern. When something feels misaligned, you will address it sooner. When someone's energy feels off, you will trust your perception faster. The days of prolonged confusion are over. This does not mean life will be without challenge. It means you will not be blindsided in the same way again. And as you stand in this strengthened identity, something within you is shifting from defense to vision. You are no longer focused on who might undermine you. You are focused on what you are building. That shift changes everything. Because builders attract allies. The exposure with the closing of one door. The next moment will reveal the opening of another, one that confirms your growth in undeniable ways. Prepare yourself. The final pieces are about to align. Fearless one, the door is now in front of you. Everything that has unfolded since March 31st was positioning you for this exact threshold. The exposure, the emotional recalibration, the silence, the forgiveness, none of it was random. Archangel Michael, but not clear ground without preparing construction. And construction begins now. You may already sense it. A new responsibility. A new idea that refuses to leave your mind. An invitation forming in conversation. Something is presenting itself that requires you to step forward with authority instead of hesitation. In the past, you might have run this decision through multiple voices, especially the one who hid behind concern. You might have waited for their subtle approval. You might have adjusted your excitement to avoid triggering their insecurity. But notice what is different now. You are considering this move internally first. You are weighing it in prayer. You are trusting your discernment. You are not automatically seeking external validation. That is growth. Archangel Michael says this decision will mark the visible beginning of your new season. It may not seem dramatic to others, but it will feel significant to you. Because for the first time in a long time, you are moving without hidden resistance attached to your name. Pay attention to how smoothly certain pieces begin aligning. The right information will come at the right time. The right person will respond quickly. The right opportunity will not require you to shrink yourself to fit. This is what alignment feels like. However, do not be surprised if the one who once monitored your every step suddenly shows renewed curiosity. When they sense forward momentum, they may attempt to reinsert themselves into the narrative. They may ask detailed questions. They may offer strategic advice again. You must remain discerning. Not every question requires a full answer. Not every curiosity deserves access to your blueprint. Archangel Michael says protect the seed while it is still forming. Early stages of growth require privacy. Oversharing too soon invites unnecessary commentary. And as you step into this momentum, understand something crucial. Your story is not isolated. Many are standing at similar thresholds, unsure whether to trust their intuition after experiencing subtle betrayal. If this message is strengthening your resolve, let your action extend beyond yourself. Like this video so that others wrestling with hidden manipulation can find clarity. Share it with someone who needs confirmation before stepping into their next move. Comment below what decision you feel called to make, because declaring it anchors courage. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected to a community that values spiritual awareness over silent confusion. When you join the membership, you align yourself with a network that chooses discernment over denial. Light spreads when acknowledged. Now back to your threshold. There is a final internal fear that may attempt to surface. The fear of being wrong. The fear that perhaps you misjudged the situation. The fear that maybe you overreacted by pulling back. Archangel Michael addresses this directly. You did not imagine what you felt. The exposure confirmed what your spirit already knew. Do not allow doubt to re-enter through nostalgia. Clarity once gained must be guarded. The breakthrough forming in front of you will validate everything. Success in this new step will silence your questions. Progress will confirm that the clearing was necessary. You are no longer reacting to hidden tension. You are responding to visible opportunity. This is the shift from survival to expansion. The next layer will not focus on the snake at all. It will focus on you fully stepping into what has been waiting. Because once interference is removed, acceleration follows. Prepare yourself. The final stretch of this journey will reveal how this new door transforms not only your path, but your position within your family dynamic entirely. Stay grounded. Stay focused. The moment of visible change is closer than you think. Steady and chosen one, you are no longer standing at the door. You have stepped through it. The shift is subtle but undeniable. Since the exposure on March 31st, since the silence, since the internal release, something tangible has begun to change in your external world. Conversations are different. Opportunities feel less forced. Even your posture carries new certainty. This is what happens when hidden interference is removed and divine alignment takes its place. Archangel Michael says you are now in the evidence stage. The stage where you begin to see physical confirmation of spiritual decisions. What was once only discernment is now becoming visible proof. Look closely at your recent interactions. Notice how some people respond to you with new respect. Notice how your words are not questioned as quickly. Notice how your ideas are being received with openness rather than subtle skepticism. Authority has shifted. The one who once operated behind concern may now feel the distance clearly. Their influence over your decisions has diminished. They may not confront you directly, but internally they recognize the change. The dynamic has recalibrated. And here is the powerful truth. You did not fight for dominance. You did not argue your way into respect. You simply withdrew from hidden misalignment. That withdrawal made room for order. Archangel Michael declares that when you remove yourself from covert rivalry, your presence becomes peaceful instead of defensive. That peace commands respect without demand. This new phase will test something different, consistency. It is one thing to gain clarity. It is another to maintain it when familiarity tries to pull you back. There may be moments when nostalgia tempts you to reopen old emotional access. There may be days when things feel normal again, and you question whether the exposure was as significant as it seemed. Stay rooted. Growth often feels quiet after the storm passes. But quiet does not mean regression. It means stabilization. You are stabilizing into your true self. There is also a surprising blessing unfolding within your family structure. As you stop overcompensating, others are forced to grow. Responsibilities redistribute naturally. Emotional patterns begin shifting. The entire system adjusts when one person changes their role. Archangel Michael says you were carrying more than your share. Not because you were weak, but because you were compassionate. However, compassion without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice without wisdom becomes exhaustion. That exhaustion is lifting. You may even notice improved physical energy. Better focus. Clear sleep. The body responds when emotional tension dissolves. This is not coincidence. It is restoration. The breakthrough hinted at earlier is now beginning to show tangible signs. The opportunity that once felt distant is moving closer. A collaboration that seemed uncertain is gaining structure. The decision you hesitated over is now feeling natural. Confidence is no longer forced. It is flowing. Archangel Michael stands not at the battlefield anymore, but at the gate of your expansion. His role now is reinforcement. To remind you of what you learned. to strengthen you if doubt whispers again. Because doubt will try one final tactic: subtle minimization. It may say it wasn't that serious. It may suggest, maybe you misunderstood. They may tempt you to reopen full access without discernment. But remember the internal shift you felt. Remember the clarity that settled. Remember the peace that followed your distance. Peace is the confirmation. As you continue moving forward, something remarkable will happen. The very area where you felt subtly undermined will become the area where you shine most confidently. If they questioned your leadership, you will lead boldly. If they doubted your decision-making, you will make strong choices. If they minimized your voice, you will speak with calm authority. The wound becomes the weapon. Not a weapon of harm, but a weapon of wisdom. You are not the same person who tolerated confusion to maintain closeness. You are not the same person who second-guessed intuition to avoid conflict. You are now someone who values alignment over appearance. And this transformation will ripple outward. Others will learn from your quiet strength. They will observe how you handle misalignment without chaos. They will see how you move forward without revenge. That example will speak louder than any confrontation ever could. The final revelation approaches now. It will tie everything together: the exposure, the boundary, the breakthrough. And it will reveal why this entire journey was not just about one hidden snake, but about positioning you for influence beyond your family circle. Prepare yourself. The conclusion will not be about them. It will be about who you have become. Victorious soul, this is the completion of the cycle and the beginning of your true positioning. Everything that unfolded from March 31st until now was never just about identifying someone who acted like a friend but carried the spirit of a snake. It was about identity restoration. It was about spiritual authority being returned to you. It was about breaking a silent pattern that had followed your family line for years. Archangel Michael says the exposure was the spark, but your response was a transformation. You chose silence instead of chaos. You chose discernment instead of denial. You chose forgiveness instead of bitterness. And because of that, something irreversible has happened within you. You trust yourself now. That is the real victory. The person who hid behind concern no longer occupies mental space in the same way. Their name does not trigger confusion. Their presence does not intimidate your decisions. Their tone does not redirect your confidence. The hold is broken. And here is the final revelation. This entire experience was preparing you for influence beyond your family dynamic. The lessons you learned about subtle manipulation, quiet jealousy, and disguised control were training you for larger rooms. There are environments ahead where not everyone will celebrate your growth openly. There will be spaces where competition hides behind compliments. But now you are equipped. Archangel Michael did not just expose a snake. He sharpened your discernment. He strengthened your emotional boundaries. He recalibrated your voice. And he positioned you to lead without naivety. You will not enter your next season blind. The breakthrough that has begun forming will now accelerate. The opportunity will solidify. The new alignment will deepen. The door that opened will remain stable because it is built on clarity, not confusion. Expect confirmation soon. A message. An approval. An invitation. A visible sign that validates everything you endured. When it arrives, remember this journey. Remember how you felt when you first sensed something was wrong. Remember the doubt you wrestled with. Remember the courage it took to pull back quietly. And then remember the peace that followed. Peace with the proof. Archangel Michael stands as witness to your growth and declares this over you. No hidden rivalry will follow you into your elevation. No disguised control will sit at your table of success. No false loyalty will attach itself to your destiny again without being revealed quickly. You are no longer spiritually unaware. This awareness is not making you hardened. It is making you wise. It is making you strategic. It is making you steady. And because you chose growth over reaction, heaven is entrusting you with more visibility, more responsibility, more impact. The snake was exposed, yes, but more importantly, the leader within you was awakened. Seal this moment intentionally. Type "I walk in divine authority" in the comments if you receive this completion. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your life. Carry this forward. You were never being attacked randomly. You were being refined intentionally. And now, you rise without hidden interference. As this journey closes, hear this as a sacred continuation, not an ending. The same way March 31st marked a spiritual line in your life, today can mark a line in someone else's. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in tears will reap with psalms of joy," and this message is part of that harvest. When you feel the thought, "I want others to receive this clarity," that is not emotion, that is divine prompting. Every super thanks, every membership, every seed through PayPal in the description becomes oil in the lamp that keeps this light burning for souls still trapped in confusion. You are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into deliverance. As you release your seed, may open heavens respond over your household. May protection rest on your family. May unexpected provision locate you. This is a prophetic act, not a casual donation. Do not delay obedience. Activate your support now through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link below, and become a partner in spreading this awakening to the nations.